Today, we're fixing a big problem that many students don't realise they have, and that is their English sounds flat. Not wrong, not bad, just flat. And the problem is that can make you sound less fluent, less confident, and honestly, sometimes a bit rude or unfriendly. The good news is we can fix this in less than 10 minutes. Let's start right now. Hello, it's Keith from the Keith Speaking Academy, here to help you become a more confident speaker of English. And today, to help your English be less flat, less monotone, right? It's interesting. Recently, I was chatting to a friend in French, and I said something, and suddenly he smiled at me. And I said basically that the idea was a bad idea. I said something like, c'est une idée terrible. And he just smiled. And I went, what? Qu'est-ce qu'il y a? And he said, you know, not a criticism, but sometimes your French just sounds a bit like Google Translate on a bad day. Like, du, 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 du. He said, it should be more like a c'est une idée terrible. And you must do that as well at the same time. And I thought, it's true. Sometimes we get so focused on the vocabulary and the grammar, we forget the intonation, that rhythm and the music that the language has. English, I think, is a very musical language. It goes up and down and you can hear the dee-dee-dee all the time. And we forget that. And unfortunately, it can make us sound a bit unfriendly or boring, even worse, right? So I'm going to be honest, this is not easy to fix, but we're going to start fixing it today. One thing you can do, and I really strongly recommend, is to do a little bit of shadowing, 1 minute every day. It's really good for intonation. But English people, there are certain patterns that we commonly use. These are not rules, but they are common patterns. I'm going to show you 4 today, which will help you really get started with focusing on this English intonation. Okay? Excellent. Let's get you sounding a lot more natural in English. Okay, the first pattern I'm going to call the friendly up, because it's got an up, a rising tone. Okay, and we use this when we want to be friendly or showing interest or being polite. We often put a rising intonation at the end of the phrase. Okay, you can hear this very clearly in questions. Okay, listen to this question in 2 different ways. What's your name? What's your name? Okay, first one, what's your name, is the way a policeman will speak to you, or the head teacher when you've been naughty. What's your name? What's your name? But the other one is much more friendly. When you go up, what's your name? That's how a friend speaks to you. Or good customer service. What's your name? That rising intonation makes the world of difference. And it's clear with questions, but it's with other expressions as well. Like, listen, really? Oh, nice. Are you serious? Oh, that's really great. Dee-dee-dee, that rising intonation makes it friendly. Compare to this, where it goes with a down intonation. Really? Oh, nice. Are you serious? Wow, that's great. Can you see how bored you sound? And you know, you're going to upset a few people if you speak like that. One is friendly, one is bored. Don't be bored. Be friendly with your English, okay? Don't be a policeman or a policewoman. Let me test you. Take this phrase on the screen and try and say it in a friendly way. Okay? Wow, tell me more. Get it? Excellent. That's pattern number 1, the friendly up. Let's move on. Okay, number 2, I'm going to call the confident down, because it's a down intonation. Generally speaking in English, when we make a statement and we're giving information, we use a down at the end of the phrase. We use a down intonation, right? A falling tone. This is different from things like, wow, that's great. Are you serious? Really? right? This is different. This is more when you're giving information. Like, I live in Spain. I'm an English teacher. I took the IELTS test last year. Okay, I'm giving information, and generally I go down at the end. I live in Spain. It's a beautiful city. Not always, right? But generally speaking. And I'm aware this is something that's very, very common. You hear beginner students, because they're unsure and unconfident, they go up. I live in Spain. I'm a teacher. I'm going to take the test next year. Now, I know that rising intonation is slightly more common in American English, but if you're a beginner or intermediate, the chances are you don't have an American accent. You'll just have your local accent, which is fine. But very often, in short sentences, statements giving information, we go down. I live in Spain. I drive a car. Okay? Try it yourselves. Finish this sentence for me, something that's true for you, but try and make sure you get that down, falling intonation, falling tone at the end. Okay. I like to eat hamburgers. That's my idea. All right, that's number 2. Let's move on. Okay, number 3, I'm going to call the contrast bell. The contrast is where two things are kind of opposite, and the bell, well, like that, but it's like up and down, like up and down, like a bell curve, okay? This is where our intonation goes up and then goes down, okay? Very, very simple. So let me give you 2 ideas. They're contrasting. First with kind of flat intonation, then second with this bell idea, okay? So first of all, I like coffee, but today I prefer tea. Flat. I like coffee, but today I prefer tea. I like coffee, but today I prefer tea. Can you see the bell? Can you hear how much more dynamic and interesting it is? Right? Here's another. First, flat. It was difficult, but it was worth it. It was difficult, but it was worth it. Dee-dee-dee-dee, dee-dee-dee-dee. Can you see the difference? Can you hear the difference? Okay, great. This can also be used for kind of longer sentences, like you may use in the IELTS speaking test. For example, some people think social media is harmful, but others say it's useful. Some people think social media is harmful, but others say it's useful. That is the contrast bell rhythm, okay? Let's try together. Repeat with me, okay? Repeat after each part. It's a nice idea, but it's too expensive. All together. It's a nice idea, but it's too expensive. Another. The test was hard, but I passed. All together. Wait. The test was hard, but I passed. That's it. You've got it. You've got the rhythm. This is number 3, pattern number 3, the contrast bell. We've got one more to go. Let's do it. Okay, pattern number 4 is the list roller coaster. Now, the roller coaster, as you know, kind of goes up and down and up and down and up and down. When we're giving a list or even telling a story, we often use this kind of pattern, right? Not all the time, but often. Let me give you an example here, right? Yesterday, that's kind of falling, rising. Yesterday, I went to the gym, did some weights, and then had some lunch. So here we've got yesterday, I went to the gym, did some weights, and then had some lunch. So it goes up, up, and down. Basically, in the list, each item, it goes up, and then at the very end, the last one comes down, as all good roller coasters should. That's how it works, basically. And in English, I think in many languages, we often talk in patterns of 3. I did this, I did that, and then I did that. 1, 2, 3. D, 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 D. Okay. It can go on. You can make it longer. Each thing you add, it just goes up, right? So you might say, yesterday, I went to the gym, did some weights, had a swim, and then went for lunch. And you come back down at the very, very end. Okay, great for telling stories, great for giving a list of stuff. It's a very common pattern. You don't have to use this when you give a list. It's not a rule, but it is very common. Let's practice. Very simple story together. Just repeat with me. Last week, I travelled to London, visited a few museums, and tried some amazing food. Great. I'm trying not to use my hands too much. I don't want you going around London going, hello, and doing this as you're speaking, right? Don't do that. Keep your hands down. But do be aware of this intonation pattern. Very useful when you're kind of telling events in a list of events in a story. Great. Right. Now, I'm going to do a quick 1-minute intonation drill with you. It's a very short dialogue. Okay. And I'm going to do, first of all, the phrase flat, and then I'll do it in natural English. You can repeat with me. In fact, you can repeat the flat and the natural English. That might help you notice the difference. But really listen to the difference when you use natural intonation. Okay? Let's begin. First, how was your day? How was your day? Busy but fun. Busy but fun. Oh, really? What happened? Oh, really? What happened? I had a presentation, did an exam, and went to the gym and then came home. Well, I had a presentation, did an exam, went to the gym, and then came home. You're still repeating, aren't you? Excellent. Good. Can you hear the difference? Flat English, natural English. And the truth is, right, flat English, it's not a grammar problem. It's not a vocabulary problem. It's an intonation problem. And often we forget. Don't forget. Go back, listen to this video again. Practice these 4 patterns. It's a great start. Honestly, as I said earlier, it's not a quick fix. It takes time. And there are other things to think about. Also, sentence stress plays a role in intonation. But it's a great place to start. Do some shadowing, short 30-second clips. Just repeat them at the same time. Really good for intonation. Keep going. If you really want to work much more deeply on intonation, you can check out my Fluent Grammar course for IELTS Speaking. It looks at different grammatical patterns and the natural intonation for them. It's basically learning grammar through speaking. It's a great, I can't say it's a great course. Can I say that? It's an interesting course. I like it. I think you'll like it. I'll leave a link if you're interested down below. You can check it out. Otherwise, for yourselves, keep going. By the way, if you want to join this channel and get access to extra videos, early access, and fun emojis, join my YouTube channel. Again, I'll leave the link down below. Become a member for the price of a coffee every month, and it'll really elevate your English. Listen, it's been great being with you today. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Take care, keep practicing, and just sound natural as you can. All the best now. Bye-bye.